Imagine that you and a friend are each going on a big shopping trip. Each of you has planned this out, and they've got this big long list of what you need to get. But somewhere in the process, the items on their list and yours get mixed up and jumbled, and you've got some of each that you're looking at. Clearly, you're going to get confused and disoriented pretty quickly, and your plan for what you want to get accomplished isn't going to work out very well. For this video, I want to present some of the key points of Classic Fusion, which is a hybrid of AI War Classic and AI War 2 features. It's not currently available to the general public, although that will hopefully happen in the future, but I've been able to try it out recently, and I think it's really interesting. But it also creates that sort of confusion, because everything in it is recognizable from either Classic or AI War 2. But the way they fit together creates some situations that you don't actually run into in either game. I definitely want to give a big thank you to Puffin, who's the primary developer of this mod, spent quite a long time on it. He was one of the main collaborators, along with obviously Chris Park and Badger, on the development of AI War 2 during early access and all of that period. Democracy, Stark, Help, and others have also contributed some, but I really appreciate them allowing me to try this out. The process for me of learning this, at first, it made me feel like a new player again. It was like relearning AI War Classic or AI War 2 and not really knowing what I was doing, what I should try to do next, which is strange considering all the elements in it are familiar. When you start a Classic Fusion game, 2 AIs are recommended. You can only do it with 1, but preferably 2. And then for your fleet, you've got all these listings. It's very similar to the start for AI War 2, except you've got all the classic counters here and hull types and things of that nature. It's got regular fighters, regular bombers, regular missile frigates, the standard triangle. That's just the classic option, though. We've got a 9-Zol option. We've got a Leech fleet. You see the different types of ships that you start with: Deep Time, Mean Green, etc., as you move on down. And then if we get through that, we're going to look at our turret defenses. And we've got various types of those as well. Citadels, not battle stations here. There are no battle stations anymore. And then also, for the support, these are more straightforward. So here's our standard view upon starting a new game, and there are a bunch of things you're going to notice very quickly. One is you can just zoom out and out and out. There's so much room here. The gravity wells are about 2 to 3 times the size, so there's lots of different ways to move around everything, but also takes longer to get anywhere because you have these larger distances within each system to traverse. We've got our Citadel, and of course all of your fleets are now more of arc variety. You're going to have weapons on all of your centerpieces. The research over here is organized into categories. There's not the division between weapon and hull type. They've just got general groupings here. So, like, for example, the explosive, you got your bombers, your heavy bomber starships, plasma siege, etc. Also flak turrets thrown in there. You move on down. Metal is a very important research. Metal and engineering, because like in Classic, you start out slower, but you've got the fire teams with Warden and Hunter to deal with, so you don't want to start out too slow. You kind of want to try to boost that some. We're still tweaking how much economy you're actually going to have. It's been upgraded in one of the recent changes to the mod, so that's all in place, and you're way below your max metal, so you sort of have to gather it up for a while. The things that you can build here, the mercenary forces are back. You're building the mercenaries directly. You also get the outguard still. But the mercenaries are more expensive, but they're also very powerful. They're Mark V. You can see 10 times as much metal there in the description. That's very much a classic thing. And then you've got your AI War 2 stuff alongside the classic things. And that just messes with your head for a while. Counter sniper, we've got the flak, laser, lightning, missile, etc. And then all of these different options in there, the interceptor, so they're fused together. All of the normal support structures, heavy bomber starships instead of the Watchman frigates. They're the assault station keeping frigates. And then we got warheads here. You can still build your custom ships. If we look around at the galaxy, there's a couple more Democracy Downfall arcs that we can get, or actually that's a Deep Time one. But you can see like missile frigates, vampire claws, Nine-Zol combat carriers, space planes and armor ships. These are all classic types of things. And some of the ARSs are just starships. So you got the Plasma Siege. The Riot Controls are back. And Sniper starships. Now the Riot Controls you can't custom, they're not modular. You can't customize them. But they're still very much good at what they were good at. And annoying when the AI swoops in with a whole bunch of them, which they will do. So all of that is in place. And if we look at our fleet, we've got fighters, bombers, missile frigates, the classic, triangle there. And then Plasma Siege and Heavy Bomber starships, 100,000 to produce those. And when you're only producing just under 1,000, you just like in Classic, you don't really want to build your starships right at the beginning. This also puts some pressure on your tech choices because, like in Classic, when you upgrade your ships, you will end up actually having them cost more because it's more metal for the higher mark levels. Now, unlike Classic, you don't keep the Mark 1 lower ones. You would just get, so instead of 2 Mark 1s, I would simply move up to a couple of Mark 2s. You don't get additional numbers of them as you move up. The ones you get are just more expensive and better. So if your economy can't support an upgrade, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, actually, by researching up further. This is another run. We're about an hour in, and we're going to dive into Frankie, show a bit of a battle here against a Mark IV system that has slightly more strength than we have attacking. So it should not be too difficult of a fight to overcome as we are gradually getting rebuilt nearby. Let's definitely knock out this mass driver here. And one of the main things to see is just all the room that we have to maneuver in and out of the range of guard posts. These special forces are coming over, taking a while to cross the system. There's just room for all kinds of tactics to happen, and we're having a big problem here because I think we got crippled. Yep. Okay, so you're going to go back. I'm going to send everybody else over this way. And you're going to go back and get repaired in the other system. Now, then we have things like the multi-shot here on the MLRS. If you look at the description, only 1 shot per target. Each shot does a full damage. That's true in AI War 2. It's not true in Classic, and it's actually not true in the mod, despite what the tooltip says. The multi-shot works in the sense that they can hit any number of shots at one target. They can focus them all on one ship if they so choose. That makes them more effective in general, the multi-shot types of weapons. As the the hunter comes over here, we have to be concerned about our Citadel because it does Jack Squad against Polycrystal, and these are bombers, Polycrystal ships, so we want to take care of that. The hard counters are really important, 0.01 damage, so Polycrystal are the bane of Citadels and fortresses. And there are many other issues like that to worry about. The Vorticular Cutlasses that you probably saw swarming around a bit earlier are Riot Control, are a good counter against them because they're a close combat hull. Both the Riot Control weapons are able to counter close combat. There they are. Some more of them up there. We have them well in hand, but if we didn't have the Nine-Zol taking them over, we definitely want to push the Riot Control in their direction. And then the Nine-Zol are their own little special thing because if we didn't bring them in here, we would not have nearly as much of a counterattack building. It's going to be fine because we're going to win the battle and knock out the guard posts. But if we didn't, that's a consideration. So there are all of these issues that we need to worry about. And you always want to be concerned about what those different counters are between the ship hulls, much more so than in AI War 2, which is more about getting the most you can of the most powerful ship types that you have available to you. This is more of a spread yourself around and have a counter for whatever the enemy can throw at you kind of approach. So we'll take a dive back out to the galaxy map. And I've done the explore everything just so we can see. And we've got more experimental turret controllers. Those are all floating around. More of the IGCs. More fleets all over the place. Here's the... well, nope, that's not it. Here's the homeworld. Let's take a look at some of the things that they have in here. So they've got Core Tethwita. They've got the Grav Reactor guard posts. If you played Classic, you remember these. These are painful. Okay. And small ships can't leave the planet. The gravity field and anything that's not a transport that is going to slow to barely moving at all. And it's got the radar. I mean, that's just pain. Core laser, core shredder, heavy beam. You got riot control, guard post. So, again, the mix of things from both. Needler, MLRS, Laser Guardians, and so on. These are the threat fleet, obviously. And then we've got the asteroid mines, another starship fabricator. Again, the Outguard, more GCAs. There's the Special Forces Guard Post, aka Warden Fleet Base. More eyes, co-processors, all the beacons are around. More tech vaults for starting the Civil War if you're feeling particularly foolish. So the main thing is that, again, we're looking at, let's take a look at the other homeworld here. What do they have? Core Shredder. They got the Leech. The Leech Guard Post is back. A different type of zombification Guard Post. Yuck. And more riot controls. The turrets there are Death Grip. Okay. And then, oh, we've got a... oh, my. Democracy's going to hate this. I'm not even going to play this game through, but we've got a regen golem. That's a rare spawn. In any case, you've got the mix of classic and AI War 2 elements, and a couple of other things that this does to you. For example, deep striking is more difficult because you need to return to your home territory to rebuild more often because of how much the higher marked ships cost, especially the starships. That also makes support fleets much more valuable in terms of going further away from your territory, which is excellent. You'll get attacked by ships and have to defend more often in your defensive system, so it forces you to split up your fleet a little more, at least in my experience so far. So let me know what you think of this bit of a showing. Just wanted to give you an appetizer for the Classic Fusion mod. The current leading suggestion for the next series on AI War that I was going to do is a mod involving Scourge as an enemy and civilian industries on our side to use that mod, but if people are more interested in this, I would be happy to go this route as well. I think this is an interesting and overall well-done mod, but I want to leave it up to you. So, what do you think? Would you like to see more of this, or was this just sort of a nice one-off, but I should leave it there? Let me know what you think. And as always, I'll be back with more AI War 2. Thanks for watching.